Howdy folks, my name is Richie aka Otter here with another Guild Wars 2 video. ArenaNet put out a series of 2 blog posts today detailing some major changes to the game. These deal with how traits and skills are going to be unlocked in the expansion and even covering some information about specializations. And you know what? It's really kind of hard for me to wrap my brain around some of these changes. So what I thought I would do is talk about some of the things that I read and maybe read some of it to you and kind of unpack everything. I am a visual learner, so until I can actually get my hands on this on a beta client or in-game, it's going to really be hard for me to really get a grasp of all of these changes. But there are some things that jump out at me, and I just wanted to talk about them a little bit. So the first thing that they put out in this blog post is that each profession is actually going to have something called core specializations. So we've been talking about specializations since they announced the expansion Heart of Thorns, and specializations to us have been like what they've announced so far is the ranger can specialize and become a druid in the expansion, and that's the specialization, and that every single profession is going to get one specialization. Well, it turns out there's more to specializations than just that. There's going to be these core specializations, and instead of having these different trait lines just called trait lines, like fire magic's a trait line, air magic's a trait line, these are actually specializations. And each profession will have 5 different ones that are going to be associated with the trait lines that are there now. And the big difference here is you're going to choose 3 out of the 5 to specialize in. And that will unlock as you level up. So you're not going to be able to specialize in 3 right away, but on your journey from 1 to 80, when you hit max level 80, you will have 3 trait lines that you can specialize in. So instead of right now, I could actually refund my traits, right? And I could spend like a couple points here, and I could put 1 point here and 1 point here and do this. And I have the flexibility of doing this, but in effect, most builds are not going to be very effective if I do that. So what they're doing is they're kind of taking that decision a little bit out of the hands of the players. So and that really will impact mostly positively on newer players who just might throw points all over the place like that and actually come up with a build that's not that effective. I think for most people who play the game with any degree of competency, this is not going to impact a lot of the flexibility of builds. So I wouldn't look at it as, oh my god, they're taking away options to us. So you're going to specialize in 3 of those. And the other big change with this is they are getting rid of these stat bonuses that are associated with each of the trait lines. So right now, I might want to choose. I might really like the talents. I'm sorry, the traits that are in the fire line here, but I really need to have condition damage and toughness for my particular build. So I'm kind of forced to go down the earth line because I want these stats, even though the traits up here I like a little bit better. So they're actually separating these things out now. So where do the stats go? If they're not going to be as part of the specializations, how do I become less, am I going to be less powerful? So what they did was they're going to increase all of the base player stats from 926 up to 1000, and that's going to compensate for part of the change. Another part of it is going to be attribute points on all equipment is going to be increased across the board so that it's going to give higher stats than it did before. And then finally, each profession's attributes are going to be updated to have half of their functionality be part of a specialization, and half of their functionality will be a baseline for that profession. And they give an example, an elementalist. That's why I'm on my elementalist, by the way. Not that I play this character very often, but so the example they give is elementalists are going to have a base attunement recharge of only 10 seconds in the expansion, and which is reduced to 8.7 seconds when the arcane specialization is equipped. Okay, and of course the specialization, like I said before, when you choose 3, that you can change at any time. So it's not like you're stuck with those specializations forever. So you don't lose the ability to change up your build. And they said that overall, the sum of those stat numbers that you used to get by specializing down a trait line will be roughly the same as it was before, but it's just going to be accounted for in your equipment and your base stats a little bit differently. All right, and we're going to get into how you unlock traits and skill points in the expansion in a little bit, but they did want to say right up front that in PvP, if you're playing in PvP, you have all of the specializations and all of your traits and skills unlocked, so you don't have to be bothered by that at all in PvP anymore. You can just jump into PvP and you have access to all of that. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the updated UI for the traits and for the skills. You can see here, I'll put up a screenshot, and it's gone through quite an evolution here. I really like how this looks, to be honest. It combines the skill screen and the actual trait lines into one screen, which is kind of cool. And you can see this particular elementalist has chosen to specialize in air magic, fire magic, and water magic. And I really like how that UI looks, the lightning crackling and the lava and everything. It looks really cool. But the big thing that you'll notice here is that the minor traits, those are the more like, what are those, hexagons, or we'll just call them more circular, the more circular steps on those specialization lines. Those minor traits are automatically unlocked when you specialize in the trait. In the previous system, you had to spend points in a trait line, and let's say you only spent 6 points in air magic. Well, then you would only unlock the first 2 minor traits. Now, just by saying I want to specialize in air magic, I get all 3 of the minor traits automatically added. So right now we have 9 minor traits, and then we have 3 choices to make, right? We have to choose an adept major skill, a master major skill, and a grandmaster major skill, and there's 3 in each line. So we get to actually choose 9 total major traits, where in the previous version you were only choosing 7 major traits total. The difference here in terms of just sheer numbers is when you're looking at air magic specifically, right? We get to choose 3 out of 9 major traits. The old system, you were choosing 3 out of 13. So you had a lot more choices, but the way that they've structured this is some of the old traits have been combined, the functionality has been combined, and so each one of these traits, major traits, should be more meaningful, and they've also just took out some bloats. So they took out some ones that just weren't doing anything or were rarely chosen, and we don't have all the information on all of the professions yet, but that's in general what they were trying to do. They're trying to streamline it, make it so that each choice mattered a little bit more, and they gave you more choices overall. Out of a smaller pool. I know that's a little bit confusing, the wording, but the math actually works out. So yeah, this is the new UI screen. It's going to be cool to actually see. I wish all of the examples were warriors so I could understand it a little bit more. But if you look at the blog post and you're familiar with elementalists, they go through a lot of the different examples of what the specialization will look like on an elementalist, so you can kind of see where they're going with that. So that was what basically the first blog post was about. The second one actually talked about how you unlock skills and traits in the new system, and wow, this is a big difference. Okay, so originally they had a certain system for unlocking skill points and for trait points, and during one of the feature packs they overhauled the way you actually unlock your traits into this system where you're kind of doing like this scavenger hunty thing, right? You can even see on this elementalist I haven't even unlocked my my new grandmasters, but they implemented this for all of the traits, the major traits. And like, for example, this one is defeat the Karka Queen. Now, if I don't want to defeat the Karka Queen, I can pay some gold and some skill points to unlock it, but it gets really, really expensive, especially for new players or players who have like 9 different characters to unlock all this stuff. It was a pain in the butt to go to these different places all over the world just to kind of unlock the characters. This has been universally hated, this change, and they're doing away with this whole system, which, yeah, praise Dwayna. Well, praise Dwayna for that. And so what are they doing? They're doing something called profession reward tracks. They're taking a little bit of a page out of the reward tracks from PvP, right? Where you say, okay, this is the reward I want to work on. I'm going to activate this, and then as I do PvP matches, I will unlock these things along the way. It's something similar to that, not exactly. So this is kind of one of the new UI screens for this. You can see along the left-hand side there, you can work on your fire magic, your water magic, your air magic. Okay, they have the specializations, but you can also, it's also grouped by like signets, conjuration, cantrips, and you can see, if you're familiar with elementalists at all, if I'm going to work on my signet reward track, then that'll unlock all of the skills that have to do with signets, and you can kind of extrapolate from there. So how does this work? So instead of completing specific content for specific unlocks like the old way, everything is unlocked by spending hero points on these new reward tracks. Hero points, new currency, they're actually getting rid of skill points, and you'll earn these by doing skill challenges, All right, they're going to be called hero challenges now, right? These are the the little chevrons. Let's see, are there any around here that I can show you? There's none in the major cities, right? No. Well, you know what I'm talking about. These things over here on the top left, the skill challenges. These are actually going to be called hero challenges once the expansion hits. So anytime you gain a level or do a skill challenge, you will unlock hero points. And a level 80 character that's done none of the hero challenges throughout the world should be able to unlock more than enough skills, specializations, and traits to make several unique full builds. Okay, that's what they say in the blog post. So even if you don't go around the world hunting for those hero challenges, they said by the time you hit 80, you should have enough skills and traits unlocked that you'll be able to craft multiple different builds that should be unique. But a single character who's done a fair amount of the hero challenges while leveling up should be able to unlock all the core specialization skills and traits. And PvP players, like I said before, you don't have to worry about it. It's all unlocked as soon as you go into the mists. Old skill points. All right, you can see here I've got a whole bunch of skill points here, 79. On my main character, I've got hundreds. Old skill points in excess of those earned by leveling and skill challenges will be converted into crafting materials for the Mystic Forge. Items and activities that were previously repeatable sources of skill points will now also provide that same crafting material. Now, what is this crafting material? The blog post doesn't say. All right, is this going to be just tier 1 through 6 mats in the old world? Is this some new crafting material that's going to be useful in the expansion? I tend to think it's going to be something we haven't seen before, something a little bit more valuable than tier 1 through 6 crafting materials, but I'm not sure. It does say that it's going to be a crafting material for the Mystic Forge, so that's kind of interesting. So we'll have to stay tuned. Maybe they'll give us some more information about that. They're supposed to have a live stream this Friday where they're going to do it like more of just answer a whole bunch of questions about these changes. Maybe they'll reveal something about that then. All right, so the blog post, they go into another example, Elementalist again. Man, they love their Elementalists. So they kind of show you if you're going to specialize in water magic, how the unlock works, and I'm assuming that that's this circular thing in this water magic screenshot that they have. You start in one spot and you rotate around and you unlock things along the way. But for example, as you're spending your hero points on water magic, the first thing you'll unlock is Soothing Mist, which is an Adept minor trait. Then you'll unlock Healing Ripple, which is a Master minor trait. Then Aquatic Benevolence, it's a Grandmaster minor trait, and it just goes through the list of things that you'll unlock in order. Okay, and of course things can change between now and the expansion based on feedback and testing and all that stuff like that. All right, and then they finally, in this blog post, talk about elite specializations. So when we heard about the Heart of Thorns announcement about Rangers turning into Druids, for example, now that's called elite specializations, whereas core specializations is actually like your trait lines. So they did give us a little bit more information about it. Every single profession is going to get one elite specialization to start in the expansion. There's going to be one new weapon introduced to each one of these specializations. We already know that the Ranger is going to turn into a Druid and they're going to have access to the staff. We also know that Necromancers will be able to use greatswords, even though we don't know what the specialization is called. And yeah, and they did say that some professions are going to have access to a brand new, like, two-handed weapon. All right, so for example, the Ranger's getting the staff. That's a two-handed weapon, which will come with 5 new weapon skills. And some of them might only get a single main hand or offhand weapon, which would be either 3 new skills or 2 new skills. But they said even the ones that are only getting a new offhand weapon, it should still, you know, really bring into play a whole new unique way to play that character. So we'll have to wait and see. It does seem a little bit weird that some of them are going to get like 5 new skills on a weapon and some of them will only get 2. But I'll reserve judgment on that until I see what all the options are in advance. Okay, the elite specialization, so I'll just keep using the Ranger Druid example. There's actually going to be a reward track for that as well. So That'll help you unlock your new weapon, your unique mechanics, skills, and traits. There's also going to be reward items, including new rune sets, new sigils, a fancy new weapon skin for your new weapon type, and an armor skin for a single matching piece of armor, usually a headgear or shoulders. So that's really cool that they actually put in different rewards, so you're not just unlocking the skills and traits and it's like, okay, whatever. You can actually unlock weapon skins and stuff like that that really fit your specialization. I totally love that. All right, so they didn't really give any much more about the elite specializations. They did say that there's going to be new skills. Every elite specialization, we're going to have new skills. You're going to have a new healing ability, 4 new utility skills, and 1 elite skill. That's for most of the professions. Some of them are a little bit different. Revenant will gain a heal skill, an elite skill, and a set of utilities of the same type. So I guess that's going to be 3 utility skills instead of 4. 1 specialization is going to have access to traps, and 1 profession's elite specialization will be a full set of 6 shouts. That might be the warrior. That could be a little bit of a hint there. In order to equip any of these new skills, you have to train and equip the corresponding elite specialization. Okay, and you're also going to be reusing old types of skills like shouts and traps to create more synergy with the rune system. Okay, and they also said there's going to be some new mechanics in there, and they gave a couple little hints. They said maybe necromancers are going to have a new way to take advantage of all that extra life force. They said that mesmers might have a new way to shatter illusions. So there might be changes like that coming to some professions that are kind of separate than the elite specializations. I think that's kind of cool and kind of important. Like, for example, like let's say you don't like the fact that your mesmer is going to turn into an illusionist, for example. Let's say you don't really like the illusionist specialization, but hey, the core mechanics of your profession might change a little bit, and you might have more options because they're going to give you new ways to shatter your illusions. So stuff like that is going to be exciting to look forward to. And also the elite specializations are going to come with a full set of new traits. So similar to a core specialization line. So we had our example with the air magic, the fire magic, and the water magic before. There'll probably be another section for the specialization where you get to pick some new traits from that. And they gave us some examples, right? So they said, how about a trait that removes a condition every time you evade an attack? So that's going to be awesome. There's also a Grandmaster trait in one of them that has the power to grant your character a Defiance bar, which will make you, very resilient to crowd control effects. Very awesome. I love what they're doing. I can't wait to see more. So those are some major changes, guys. Like I said, it's a lot to swallow right now, and especially not being able to play it in game. But I'm totally expecting at this point where they kind of laid the groundwork for how traits and skills have unlocked, and they talked about elite specializations. I think we're going to finally start to see the specializations revealed for all of the professions. They said that they would dedicate like a week to each of those revealing. So we might have like a Ranger week coming up sometime soon, and that's going to be super fun to speculate and see one by one what all the professions are, and how our professions are going to change. And you know what? That might actually affect which character I play more often. Like I told you guys at the beginning of the video, I don't really play this Elementalist at all. But if the Elementalist, turns into like the God of Otter specialization, then you know what? I'm probably going to play an Elementalist main come the expansion. So I've played the Warrior almost exclusively since launch, but who knows? I may not like the warrior specialization. That might impact some things. So I'm kind of curious to see what all the specializations are. That's gonna wrap things up. What's your feedback? I expect people to pretty much freak out about a lot of these changes. We're probably going to see a lot of people saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling. But I tend to reserve judgment on all of these different things. People are afraid of change. I have to see it. I have to see it and play it, and to really be able to comment much about whether I think these are good changes or bad things or bad changes. As far as what is just written in this blog post, I'm okay with it. I love the fact that the unlocking of the traits is going to be a lot easier. I totally hate the new system. In fact, I have some alts that I've leveled up recently that I'm not even going to bother unlocking anything. I'm just waiting for the expansion on them. So I think at the very least, those are some positive changes, and I can't wait to see the rest. That's going to wrap things up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button and favorite and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when future videos are released. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Take care.